Hello and welcome back. We are once again continuing with our Imperial Fist, and if you noticed last time, I missed a couple of spots with our undercoat. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. Most of it was kind of with this backpack here underneath and on the kind of inside on the back. So I went ahead and re-went over that with our Wraithbone, and we're going to go ahead and finish off with our Imperial Fist contrast here. Again, this was kind of the majority of what we used here last time. It was our second layer, and we're just going to finish it up, make sure we get a nice little amount on our palette there. And again, maybe you didn't see it last time, maybe this is the first episode you're watching for some reason. That's fine. I'll just go over the basics again. With contrast paint, it is very thin, so you want to make sure that you have a really solid undercoat, because any little mistakes you make will be very obvious, as I have unfortunately have to find out the hard way. But the nice thing is it's very thin already, so you don't have to thin your paints. If you are someone who struggles with thinning their paint for just the average paint job, I highly recommend you taking a look at contrast paints. It will change your life. It gets rid of that hassle. The only issue with it is that the contrast paint line is a lot more limited in terms of your selection. I don't know what the actual numbers are. I know dry brush is even more limited. There's only like a handful of dry brush paints that GW makes, which is really upsetting. I really like the dry brush line, but we'll work with what we got. And we will just go back and finish up all of the little things we missed last time. We'll probably do one more episode after this one, just for a kind of final cleanup. But a majority of everything that we need to get done will probably get finished in this one, hopefully, if we kind of stay on schedule here. We are going to be doing the gun, the shoulder pad trimmings, and the chest emblem today. That's going to be the main focus, as well as just generally making sure that our base coat is good and properly finished here. And I mentioned last time that this Imperial Fist is kind of a little bit too bright for my liking. We might fix that. I don't. So the risk is, we could just non-oil it, absolutely drown it in a non-oil bath. But I really don't want to ruin our model by doing that. And it's kind of something that's going to be a little hard to come back from if we do. So I'm a little bit hesitant when it comes to that. I also missed this hand last time, which was kind of blaringly obvious, but I do tend to miss most things, unfortunately. So it's something we're just going to deal with. I did do the standard just undercoat with Wraithbone, and then now I'm doing it with Imperial Fists, so it's nothing crazy. If you miss anything, you can just do that, and you'll fix yourself right up. But with that being said, as we kind of come to somewhat of a complete product here, we are going to be moving on to our next color. This is going to be the worst color, just because if we mess it up, it's going to be a little bit of a pain. But I'm willing to give it a try, and I do have another new brush for this. It's a little bit smaller than this one. This is a number 2 brush. Let me just clean it off here a little bit. That way we still kind of keep it in a decent shape. And I will say, it's lost a little bit of its tip, but it's still somewhat decent. It's lasted me at least 20 minutes so far, so 1 point to the cheap Amazon brush. And whoa, if I can't throw it around, sorry. This is our other brush. This is a size 0, and it's actually pretty short compared to the other ones I use, so I'm hoping it kind of keeps its edge a little bit longer. And give it a nice little shake here. We're going to be using Abaddon Black. This is going to be our edge highlight layer for the shoulder pads, and then it's going to be the emblem and the gun's primary colors as well. And just get a nice little bit of water mixed in. As always, we don't want our paint to be too thick. And for the shoulder pads here, we do want to use kind of the edge of our brush if we can manage it, and hopefully not ruin everything. It's very nice and gentle. Actually, let me get a little bit more water. It's already starting to dry on my brush, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's not thin enough. There we are. Second time's the charm. And very carefully, we will continue on. My hands aren't as shaky as they were yesterday, thankfully, so I think we might be able to manage this without horribly botching things. And of course, we're going to be coming at the weird angles. Oh, I already did it. I'll tell you what, though. If we can get it before it dries, that'd be perfect. Oh, look at that. Saved it. Absolutely saved it. It's the nice thing about having a brush that's just full of water on hand. If you do something like that, a little tiny spill, you can just take it right off. But going back to our weird angle as before, the exact same thing, just kind of gently going along on the edge here. And we'll probably have to do another layer. It's very thin, but we'll get to that in just a moment. And we are doing a weird little under spot there. The power pack thing is kind of in the way, but we'll just follow it straight down and right to that edge. And just a quick little brush, good lord, words, once over on that. And once that dries, we'll go right back over it, and it should look pretty good. We didn't butcher it too badly for being black on yellow. Not as badly as I thought we would, at least, so I'll give myself some credit there. And of course, getting a little bit more water mixed in on our palette as we add more paint. We're going to do the exact same thing on this side. Again, just using kind of the edge of our brush as much as we can. And that does involve some weird angles, but we do the exact same thing. Just go all the way around, nice and easy. Don't worry if you hit that metal. Not that yours will probably have one on there. It's kind of a little unique thing I added on this guy just because I had an extra bit. I don't actually know if this came in the Intercessors box that I had. I have like 12 sprues just laying all about that are all like random Intercessor parts from different combat patrols, and I don't really know what's the... Oh, not again. I don't think we can fix this one. Barely. We'll still need to go over that and fix it probably with another base coat and whatnot, but it sucks. Oh well. We'll continue on. We will fix all of our mistakes at the end. And so close. Final lap. There we are. And you can see now as our other shoulder is drying here, it is looking pretty nice, but it does need that kind of second layer. So we will be happy to oblige it. And it doesn't even need one all over, and just there's certain little spots that kind of stand out as having just a little bit less black than others. I don't know if it shows very well on camera, but I can see it pretty easily just looking at it in front of me, so do my best to kind of fix that. And one more little spot we do want to get, I kind of forget about it sometimes, is the underside of these shoulder panels. Very easy to forget, but it is pretty crucial, especially if you have ones that are angled up like this one, because you can kind of see them just looking straight on. Normally it's not a big deal just because your shoulder pads are looking like straight down and you can't really see it unless you really like inspect your model, but this one you really can, so we do want to get that cleaned up. And just about perfect. There's a little bit of cleanup there we need to do, but we will do the same thing on the other side. And I've got some really weird angles for this one. Maybe. There we are. That's how you can tell that you won't be able to see it too well. If you have to go at weird angles just to paint it, it's probably not too visible. Don't worry about it too much. But we will go back over the edges as well, just because they could use another coat. Especially this little corner, it's not even fully filled in. And already, that's looking much nicer. We do want to do a little bit more on the front, and then we will switch to the chest, and we'll do the Aquila. Every time I think of that word, not only do I wonder if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I think of this old Xbox game. It was called like Battle Unit Aquila or something, and you played as like a mech, and it's like the oldest game I can think of where you really did this, but you like went in with other like ground forces, and they were super tiny, and it was like your basic like, you know, go to X objective and blow things up. But man, as a kid, that game was like crazy. Just playing on a big map with all these little tiny dudes, and there was like little tanks and everything, and little vehicles you could blow up. Blew my mind as a kid, and I've really been wanting to go and find that game again. But it was called something Aquila. Really fun game though. You know what I'm talking about. You're one of the real ones. But yeah, little childhood memory there that just unlocks every time I paint one of these things. Speaking of original Xbox, man, what a classic console. I mean, absolute like peak of gaming. But the 360, I think, holds a little bit higher of a regard in my personal notebook. I really love the 360. There's just so many like unique games. Like everyone made a 360 game, right? And now like dev costs are super high, and like, you know, indie titles put out games. But mainly it's like, you know, AAA titles coming out, right? Like that's kind of all you really read about. But I remember this game called like The Outfit, and it was like a World War II, kind of like RTS, kind of not really. It was third person, but you like controlled one guy, but you could like call in squads and like artillery and tanks and stuff. Really, really interesting concept. At least, you know, when I played it, little like 10-year-old me. But I haven't really played a game like that since. Like I've played RTSs, and you know I've played plenty of like third-person shooters, but nobody really mixes the two anymore, and it makes me really sad. Great game though, highly recommend it. I remember me and a friend of mine used to play it all the time. We'd do like split screen co-op, and we'd do like hide and seek. There's like such big maps, and you could hide in like bushes and stuff. It's like kind of like doing like Michael Myers in like Modern Warfare 2. If any of you guys ever did that, maybe it was just me. Maybe. I'm absolutely butchering this chess piece, by the way, but we'll try to fix it best we can. For now, we're going to move on to the gun, just because it's a little bit less of a headache, and we can get it done a little bit more swifter. Just very quickly with a nice thin layer of black. Probably need a second layer to make it look proper, but this is good for a start. And once we're done with this, we'll actually see how our brush is holding up, see if it's doing as well as the other one was. It should be. I haven't really put it through any rigorous use so far, so hopefully. But the other pack of brushes I used in my Black Templar video, those things like fell apart instantly. There's another one of those like real cheap Amazon ones, and they just absolutely horrible. I don't know the brand of them, just because I have like literally hundreds of these stupid things, but they really just shattered. The tip was like non-existent after about 20 minutes of use, and it was really, really annoying. So hopefully these hold up just a little bit longer. At some point I do want to buy some like proper brushes, but at the same time that's a lot more maintenance, and I'd be a little bit more devastated once those finally kind of got ruined. So I think for now we'll kind of stick with the real cheap ones. And once we finish this, we're going to flip it over and do the other side. Nice and quickly, nothing too crazy. And then I also didn't mention, but we're going to be using lead belcher for all the little, like the barrel and the ammo and whatnot. So there's another paint you can add to your list of paints you might want. Or you can just do it all, brass maybe. I do kind of like doing that sometimes. So if you don't have lead belcher for some reason, there you go. Just use a brass or a gold color instead. I think lead belcher is kind of one of those paints that's like the cornerstone of any model, though. So definitely recommend getting some of that for you. But we will switch to that now, just to give myself a break from the headache of doing black on yellow. Maybe didn't want to open. Same thing as before, though, just nice and thin. You actually want to be a little bit more careful making your metallic paints thin. They do tend to go on a little bit thicker, and they are much more obvious when they're thick as well. They have a pretty heavier buildup, so just be a little bit careful with that. But we're going to be doing the magazine and the barrel, and then the scope as well. We'll do the under-mounted grenade launcher too, which I gotta say is kind of redundant for like a bolter, right? Unless you're shooting like crack grenades specifically, which are like the anti-tank stuff. Like bolters basically shoot grenades already, right? Like they're little rockets. Seems like a little bit overkill to me, but what do I know? Still cool. We'll give it that. If you follow the rule of cool, it makes sense, but otherwise, not really. And I want to be extra careful to make sure none of this metallic paint dries in our brush. That's another tip for you there. If you have nice brushes and you want to take care of them, use a cheap one for metallics. They will ruin your brushes much faster, and it's something you want to kind of look out for. So there you go. Don't use your fancy brushes to do metallics. We, however, don't mind. We're using nice cheap ones, so we're going to continue that trend. And we'll get inside that little notch there as well. And if we can, we'll also do this little ammo, I don't even want to call it cylinder, I guess. And we will go right back over it on the other side. Do the exact same thing. We're going to have to clean up a little bit of that black on the inside. It looks a little bit terrible, but that's fine. It's not a huge concern at the moment. And one more thing we kind of want to focus on before we end things is this backpack. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I like to do the exhausts all silver, and there's like 6 of them in total, so it's very quick, but it is kind of a necessary step. 1, 2, you want to get the insides as well, and the tops. Don't worry about the backs too much. If you can get them, sure. Sometimes they're in a weird little spot. And then we want to get the other side, of course. 1 and 2. This is like the therapeutic part for me. And you can see I actually left a little bit of a nub there when I was cutting it off the sprue. I'll probably try to clean that up in between parts. Fortunately, I didn't realize that, but sometimes you miss those things. It's fine. And as always, I like to do the underside of these. Whoa, came off my paint handle. Why don't you? Thank you. And real quickly, just hit the underside. You can do both sides there, both up and down, just to get kind of full coverage. Just be a little bit careful you don't spill out onto your rim. You'll do the exact same thing with the other side, and this will make number 6. And I spilled out a little bit, but it's not very noticeable, so it's fine. And I think we will kind of leave things there for now. We'll get this magazine real quick, though. Otherwise, it's going to bother me. But we will do a part 3 sometime soon. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for watching. Quick shout out, I do have a Patreon. If you like these videos, you want to see more, and you want to support this channel, that's a great way of doing so. Otherwise, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And hopefully, I will see you guys in the next video.